So welcome everyone to my first episode of Track Talk, a new series as part of Live from My Drum Room, exclusive to Live from My Drum Room. And I appreciate you tuning in today for my very first episode. And it's a pleasure to welcome my guest, the incredible Stan Lynch. And today we're going to talk about his iconic drum track on Stop Draggin My Heart Around. So there he is, live from Florida.
Hi, John.
Hi, Stan. Nice to see you. Man, you're just the picture of just cool and handsome and all that and more. Oh, man. Well, you know, Stan, I tried testing to see if the track came through the broadcast, and it doesn't. So, so we're just going to go the way I thought we'd be going with it. So
Fine.
that's all right. Yeah, you're a pro. I'm sort of a pro. We'll make it work.
Sure.
We got a whole bunch of folks watching, including the great David Garibaldi, who, holy cow. Well, I got to sit up straight when David Garibaldi's watching. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Fix my hair.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, DG, great to see you out in the audience today. Oh, man. And so many of your friends and fans are watching, Stan. So thank you for doing this today.
Sure.
All right. So first episode, I got a little bit of a format. We're going to jump right in today and Stop Dragging My Heart Around. I love this song. And I, first of all, want to tell everybody what I said to you, Stan, last week or when we spoke about this. There are so many songs that you played on, and they are all, in my opinion, and I think other drummers, iconic. So thank you for agreeing to doing this song, because it's a little bit out of order, so to speak. You know, I mean, Breakdown is every bit iconic, a drum track as far as I'm concerned. I mean, yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. Okay. We'll come back to that.
Pleasantries. Dispense with these.
Okay.
Onward.
Okay. On we go. Okay. So Stop Dragging My Heart Around, recorded at Sound City.
Correct.
Which is, you'd recorded Damn the Torpedoes there. Other records other than was that the first record you did at Sound City, or?
That's right. That was
Okay.
That's when we met Shelly Yakis and Jimmy Iovine.
Yeah.
Right around for Damn the Torpedoes. And then Jimmy and Shelly, I think, did subsequently about another 2 or 3 albums beyond. I think we did 3 albums together, I think, is what that's in my head.
Okay. And it was that great recipe that you guys developed for Damn the Torpedoes that you continued for Hard Promises and onward. And that was my next point, which was Shelly Yakis, the great engineer, who got that incredible drum sound on the record before. So you kind of were off to the races, so to speak. And I guess to jump into the song.
Sure.
You don't remember, I know it was recorded in 1981. Was it the springtime roughly? Do you remember?
You know, those sessions kind of would just drag on, and it would like we were on kind of a yearly tour album cycle.
Yeah.
So I something tells me we were usually touring in the summer. So I have this memory of being in rehearsals in March and April and being out on the road in the summer, because I think that was during the era of sheds, like all the, and so I'm guessing we probably were recording in LA probably in the winter,
in the winter. Okay.
I would think, but I don't know. I'd have to look at the dates on some of that, on the boxes but it was the extension of, it was Damn the Torpedoes Mach 2. We were in there, and we knew we could get a big drum sound. So I think we even went even bigger, like the room mics started to come into play on that. I think we're talking about the fourth album. Yeah, that's around the 4th. Right. So I noticed that on Torpedoes, it was a big drum sound, but it was not very roomy. It was very tight, and it was having a hard time articulating even my hats because they weren't turning on any overheads. It was almost like they were like you were playing samples. I mean, you couldn't do a drag or a rough the drums. But so on this album, I remember probably bitching and moaning a little and saying like, hey, I see these very expensive overheads. Could we give them a try? And then, so then I learned about the disruptive nature of cymbals.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's interesting you say that, Sam, because I was going to make the observation that even though it was the same drum kit, which was the Tama blue Imperial Star kit, the legendary kit you use for everything, basically, same drum kit, same engineer, same studio, same producer. It was like you say, it was like the drum sound to me was like another notch up. As great as it was on Damn the Torpedoes, it had this even bigger, and I didn't attribute it until you just said that to the overheads, because the drums definitely breathe more on this record to me, especially this tune. And the cymbals really sparkle.
I think we put the drums in a different place. I think Shelley, it was like repeat details, they work, but maybe modify. So I think we went and I think I added like another tom-tom, I like, big deal. I think that was around the time I met you. So I went to Zildjian's.
Yeah. I think there were still Paistes maybe on this one. I think they were, I mean, they sound like it, but you would know.
I don't know. I think I went to 15s on the hats because the great Pete Thomas from the Attractions told me, he said like, man up, get you some 15s, So I think I tried that for a couple of years, but I think we were dabbling. I think maybe I was hybriding on the cymbals, but I was getting in trouble with those, because I was still, as younger drummers do, you're a little splashy and you forget that you're actually recording. You think you're performing and you kind of are, but really you're trying to make a record. So I didn't, my gears were just starting to mesh, right around then, like going like, oh, it's not about pleasuring myself in the studio. I have to get a track. I have to really get a recording that they can hang parts on, and I think the other guys in the band were just starting to get hip to the fact that, hey, we can make mistakes and we can overdub.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't have that luxury, You
didn't have that luxury. No.
Oh, and we weren't smart enough to even consider cutting between takes or click tracks, or we hadn't come to that level of sophistication. We were still basically a road band, and Tom would come in with a tune on acoustic guitar and he'd play it on acoustic, and I would beg for my right to play drums. I go, I don't think it needs bongos, it's like it, but we were always wading in very slowly, like, oh, do we have to have drums? It's like, no, you don't have to, but I have an idea, So, bands are, I think anybody in a band can relate, you're arranging on the fly, everybody's in contributing, and it's self-arranging, you go, does that work? I don't know, I like it, do it again, so that's what happened a lot on that. And that particular track was, I think our bass player, Ron Blair, the great Ron Blair, had decided that he had had enough.
Yeah.
So he was out. He literally just mic drop and left.
So it was during those sessions that happened, Stan? Or just ahead of it?
It was right in that.
Right. Okay.
It seemed like that week, you know what I mean? But it was probably during that window of recording, or, we came off the road. Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm not in communication with Ron anymore. It's like, he's just off the radar. And so that's when bass players were being discussed, and then the great Duck Dunn's name came up, and what do you say to that? Except, like you have two reactions as a drummer: shit or shit. I think I did both. I just felt like, well, that's going to be a great moment. And fortunately, I was unsophisticated enough not to know. I knew how great he was, and I knew how famous he was, but I didn't know how the depth of his discography, which I'm glad I didn't know, or I would have just gurmed him all night. I just would have, I
Yeah.
think I would have been able to play. I just would have been, tell me again, tell me again, tell me again, tell me again.
Yeah.
You know, but he
Yeah.
sat down and just, you know, that
So,
went really fast.
and that was Jimmy Iovine the one that brought him in as producer? Did he say, I want to bring in Duck Dunn for this one,
I
or
think it was for Tom.
it was more Tom? Okay.
Yeah, I think Tom, you know, we all had knowledge of that great, you know, rhythm section and that whole, you know, Booker T, just every, you know, all of it. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
it was just,
All
you
the
know,
Stax stuff is just like legendary. Yeah.
it's, it's in, it's the, it's the early testament, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's your Bible. If you came up in the late 60s and those are the Cats and they look cool doing it. And so his name got, you know, well, what if we get Duck? Well, maybe he's out in LA, or he was, and something. And yeah, he walked right in and pipe in hand, you know,
Yeah.
and proceeded to, I think he played, maybe I had heard the song before he did, maybe. And I remember like fumbling, talking to him about drum parts, like, you know, as you'll say, like, do you want boom, 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 or
Yeah.
you want boom, 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 boom. You know, it's subtle. Like, is it one and boom, boom, or is it, you know, and you'd ask Jimmy and he'd just go, he just throw his hands up. But I remember asking Duck, and the perfect reaction, that Southern gentleman with the pipe, he looked at me, he goes, hey man, just do your thing. I'll get right with you. You know?
Oh man.
And
Yeah.
it was like, I couldn't tell, like, am I being shined? No, he was really like, you do
Yeah.
your thing, man. I'll be right on it. And first take, we probably fumbled for a tempo. Like, you know, it was too slow, too fast. You know, nobody could even agree. Second time we counted 4, you know, I probably counted it off, you know, like, or Tom, you know, between the two of us,
Yeah. Yeah.
Tom was in a little vocal booth facing right at me. We were probably 4 feet apart. So it's very immediate. And we counted it off and played that. That's the take.
Wow.
You know,
Wow. Amazing. And that was a question I had to ask too, was, you know, was there like some sort of agreement between the two of you guys on the, like, the tempo, the groove, where the beat was? I mean, to me, this song represents a style that you have for a lot of your tunes, but definitely represents that behind the beat, you know, relaxed, kind of almost lazy feel that you have, you know, on a lot of these tunes. And that, you know, it's just like to have another bass, like Ron and you have been playing for 5 years at that point. And he knew that about you. He could just, you know, he just would fall in obviously with you without even thinking about it. But having Duck Dunn come in, who's probably has his own ideas about where the beat feels and is, and
I,
there it was, you know.
he's just so good. And I think you've given it more thought than we ever did. You know, I really,
Probably.
you know, I think it was never any thought in any of
Yeah.
this. There's no premeditation. I'm gonna play and lay it back. I mean, it's the only thing the band could do. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what happens when you count 4 and you're in a band and everybody listens and broadcasts and talks to each other. We're having conversations musically. And so I think that Duck was just, he's intuitive, and maybe we were all drinking the same boogie water, you know, like, just in growing up, we probably all listened to the same kind of music. You know, we weren't listening to prog, and we weren't listening to, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
we were listening to R&B, and we were listening to, you know, gospel and all that. And so it's just,
That makes a big difference. Yeah. I know what you're saying, Stan. It really, like, you were on the same page, just, you know, in terms of the, you know, not even just the influences, but, you know, just the same plane, just musically. You were, yeah. Yeah.
Duck's such a key man when you talk about that Stop Dragging My Heart song. He's such a glorious connective tissue between what I'm trying to sell and what's actually making it to the speakers. Because I'm kind of all over the map. If you listen to that track, I'm throwing the Whitman sampler at that thing. I'm like going, I wonder if this will stick. I'm in my mind, I'm rehearsing. I'm showing Duck and the boys, and I'm going, I wonder if they'll like this in the bridge, or if they, because if you, I think most drummers can relate. You hunt and peck if you
Yeah.
don't have a chart. If you're not a chart reading guy and you're in a band, you just hunt and peck. You reach into your drawer and you go, well, this sometimes works, and so I was throwing everything, my pattern's changing, and it's because I'm hoping somebody's going to go, that's fucking great, like. So at the end of the track, I remember thinking, well, this will be a learning experience. And Duck said, let's go in and listen to one. So and I remember we were sitting on a couch and he sidled right up to me, and he put his leg right up against mine. And I thought, well, this is nice. He's a physical, visceral, and he was tapping my leg with the 2 and 4 the whole time while he's smoking the pipe. Like he just kept doing, and I'm thinking, like, I really like this. He's a bonding soul,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then at the end of the take, it goes dead, and Jimmy says it's too fast, and Tom says it's too slow, and they get into not a big, but a brouhaha about tempo, and then the famous line, I have to say it. You can edit it if I don't, maybe you can't. He packs his pipe and he looks up and he goes, I don't know, man. He goes, and he just said, you might want to drop me in or somewhere around that bridge. I think I hit something way out. I don't know what I was going. And he punched in a bar or two. And I thought, is it that easy? Is it that easy? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
When the people are that desiring of that kind of, we all wanted the same thing. We all, in our minds, we were fantasizing we were making the same record in that one moment, and
Yeah.
and Benmont Tench is just extraordinary. Mike, he wrote the music. It was when his demo was very linear. It didn't have any stops and starts or accents or dynamics. It was probably written to a drum drop, like, I don't know if you remember those. They were little
Yeah.
things.
Absolutely do. Yeah.
And so, I felt it being very spirited. It would have all these big builds and that big bam, bam, bam. Then you throw in your Simon Kirkville, and it was like, because that's right off of, I think, I'm Leaving by Badco. You steal from all the fun things you loved and see if you can shoehorn them into a record. And
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that again. I'd made a note of all the different components of the song in terms of the drum part. I mean, the intro to me is that the build up, and you're playing eighth notes with your left foot on the hi-hat, that, just that, which you do anyway, I know, but it's that boom, boom. I'm going to make a valiant attempt to play it on my iPhone.
technology.
And I do apologize, folks. It's all right. Here we go. Let's see how this sounds to everybody. That right there sells the song as far as I'm concerned. It's just that alone. That's where I was sold when I heard it. It was like, holy shit. And so my question is, like, did you kind of compose this song like over time in your mind? Like, had the band been working on it for a while and you kept kind of adding things and changing things, or going, this works, this doesn't? And I know, like you say, I overthink this stuff way too much, but I just wonder if that's something that it just sort of hit you in the heat of the moment, or you kind of had this.
Well, let's see. There's like, okay, I guess we're talking drums, period. So, you only have a couple options. When you hear 1, 2, 3, 4, you could go boom, schmack, boom, schmack, boom, schmack, boom, schmack, bomb, bomb, schmack. And I was thinking, I don't want to do that. Like
Yeah.
my ego is writing a big check today, you know? It's like, you know, I had tremendous ego at that time in my life. You know, you're 25, you just sold a buttload of records, and you know, you're really feeling like maybe I'm destined to be one of them, you know, and it's like
Yeah,
you're so full of
but
shit that
that's
you
not
don't,
ego though, Stan. I know you.
no,
It's not ego.
come on, man, you
You were
gotta,
feeling confident.
well,
Yeah.
overconfident. And so you feel like when you hear a song, you know, you hear like da 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 da, and I could go, well, it's not, I'm not in a folk band, so I'm I'm the herd of buffalo. I'm the Keith Moon here today. I'm the most important guy in the room. So, you know, which you can wear out a room pretty quick, but on that track, it seems to work. Um, but yeah, there was no real thought to it. It was just like, I'm going in big, because drummers generally inspire or depress the band, as the case may be. If the drummer's having a banner day, it usually, the tide brings up all the boats, you know.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
and I think that those guys at that time were probably enjoying me being that guy. You know, that was the year that I got to be that guy, you know. And so the chart for that song is just purely me hearing a vocal, and that was pretty much how I played every Heartbreakers record. Was I listened to my singer, and when he would stop singing, I would doom boom rap, or you know.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
if he's going, baby, you come knocking on my front, boom boom bap, baby, all that you used to boom boom bap,
Yeah.
boom
Yeah.
bap. You know, so I'm fucking with Tom, thinking that I'm making his life more fun. And sometimes it would be. Sometimes
Yeah.
he's probably just going, what the? But you know, and if he's singing an accent, I'm gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna I'm over. My job as a drummer in that band was to make Tom want to do his thing, like to release himself. Because if I could turn him on, he would turn us all, he'd turn everybody on. He, you
Yeah.
know, so really every record I ever made is, you know, at least those early, maybe the first 6 or 7, they're all about me hearing a live vocal. I'm not hearing a click track, or they weren't, you know, like, I think we had a nice bond, you know, the singer and the drummer had a bond that was like, let's make this work together, you know?
Yeah.
And
Sure. Yep.
that's really, I think maybe that's a lost art now, but that used to be the whole thing, was like, get a good beat and get a good vocal, and you probably got you a track, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You're right. I mean, it's hate to say it, but it's a whole lot easier now to achieve that. And it's, yeah, it's kind of a lot, but without veering too far into that, it comes back. I'm going to just play a little bit more of the track just for people to hear it. I know everybody knows this song, but and this is what I mean about the feel. I mean, I've played this song in bands, and that's a crazy feel. That's just, and all those hi-hat barks. You can hear Stevie's vocal leaking through there. And there's some parts where you're lifting. You can hear that you're playing those eighth notes in the hi-hat, and you're lifting just in little, not a full burp, but you're just letting some air out. And it's like we've talked about with our friend Charlie. He had that sort of elastic kind of thing that he would do, and it reminds me of that sort of push-pull thing. But the time never changes. It just makes this sort of rubbery feel in a few places.
it'd be funny to look at it on a grid. I'd love to see it with the grid markers and see just how, because Benmont used to claim that my snare was late, but my bass drum was early, or something like that,
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't, now that I've been recording at home, with Pro Tools, like everybody else for the last 8 years, I've been able to see what I actually do,
Yeah.
naturally. And it is interesting. Like every drummer has a biological rhythm that they like to play in. That particular track, mid-tempo, that's kind of where I live.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sort of
I'll,
suck fast, and
I'll bet it's perfect on the grid, Stan. I'd bet you anything. I'll bet it's
there's
perfect.
no such thing. But it's but that tempo, it never wears me out. I will play
Yeah.
a song. That one I live for that tempo. So maybe that's where my heartbeat is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I live right about it. Boom, schmack,
Yeah.
boom.
That's kind of right where you got lucky is too, I'd say, right? Would you say it's right about the same,
It might be a little peppier,
a little
but
peppier? Okay.
yeah, but this
Yeah.
one's it's pretty boggy. It's like
Yeah.
it's fun. I mean, those tempos are really fun to me. And the snare drum gets such a big space,
Yeah.
it gets like all this, you hit it and you don't have to hit it for a while. You bam, bam. It's like there's a lot of air in there. And it feels kind of sexy when you're a drummer to have that, your elbows out that far,
Yeah, exactly.
It's fun. It's really fun.
So when you were recording it, was it sounding that great in the cans? Like, were you really digging the sound you were getting? Was that contributing to just making it feel even better to you? Like you were
Yeah.
getting that nice big, it was the Ludwig snare too, by the way, right? The Ludwig
Superphonic 6.5.
6.5 Ludwig.
Yeah, olive badger. Still got it. It's a great drum. It was
Yeah.
probably a CS spot tuned really deep.
Yeah.
Probably with probably some bun wad and some duct tape even, like it's pretty hogged out. I mean,
Yeah.
and the snare bed is pretty loose, like,
And you're getting that almost like analog, like kind of sound from it. Yeah.
there's probably room and probably not much verb. I doubt
Yeah.
there's verb. Room was our go, like if I needed like extension, it would be like, turn up the 67s, like, or there might have been a C24 out in the room, something really nice, like a cool stereo, large cap mic. And, just because I mean, Sound City had everything, there
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
it was, and Shelly, I mean, it was a joke when I remember Tom walking in and seeing my drum kit, because I would go in and work from 9 till 4 getting drum sounds. Band would show up at 5. And he walked in, he goes, "What is it? We having a fucking press conference here?" Like every mic, in Sound City was, like,
On the drum kit. Yeah.
Tom was like, "Can I get a 57 for my vocal?" So
I've
like,
seen the pictures. It's incredible. I mean, yeah, it really is truly. Yeah. It's like yeah.
but the joke is probably only 6 of those mics are on the track, but but yeah, you had to beat the hell out of those drums. And I mean, you really had to hustle that kit, and it's pretty much dead stick in the beater,
Yeah.
it's hardcore. There's there's a Shelly's perfect pillow, like and with his perfect weight, you had to have that, everything was, and then I think he had a 441 on the kick drum and probably an old, maybe a D112 or something,
Yeah.
but it was
Sure.
and oddly enough, I think he put him out of phase on the bass drum to get the real knock on it,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a hard kit to play. It wasn't fun, but yeah, when you ask me, was that in my headphones? Hell yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah. I mean,
and,
that
and
drum
you were,
set,
yeah.
you can't act like that you have that sound without having that sound.
Yeah. Yeah. Of
You can't
course.
play like pretend that it's going to happen later, It's all reacting, everything reacts.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would think so. Absolutely. Yeah. And I would have to think that was a big motivator in just getting the track that you got, because it just, it sounded so great to you. And I want to just play a little bit more too. I made a couple more notes here.
Okay.
Let's see. So the 16th note hi-hat part that you play as you go, I guess it's from the bridge to let me see. Let's see if I can find where it is. It's about 2 minutes in, I think. We'll talk about those fills in a minute too. This spot right here.
Take it to the bridge.
Yeah. Come on. You kidding me? I tell you, Stan, when this song was on the radio, every drummer I knew wanted to be you, including me.
I wanted to be me.
I'm telling you.
I won't lie to you. It was like, come on. It's like, I mean, I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. I thought, I mean, to me, that seems so normal to have that much drumming. Now I hear it and I go, this guy is out of his freaking mind. It's like Mongo. Hey, he can't resist a fill. It's like, it's so funny. It's like every chance, every four, it's like every 4 bars, there's some, even if it's just a little one, please, can I just sneak one in there? It's, it's just like, it's the self-gratification at its finest.
No, but it really, I mean, I think, again, all the drummers watching this will agree. Everything fits perfectly where you put it. It's not overplaying by any stretch. It's like this perfectly, composed part that where each bit fits. I'm telling you, there's the, yeah, well, I just, the quarter note, the ride cymbal bell thing that you do is you come into that intro, that where you count it back in, the ding, 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 ba, ba, ba. I mean, like all these different sections all have a purpose as a part of the composition. I mean, I think there's no reason for us drummers to think that, we can't compose an integral, like important part of a song.
Well, that particular song is like, it's bluesy. It's very, the lyric is really evocative of some intense emotion. So it rolls out a red carpet for a drummer if you're encouraged, and nobody discouraged me. So in that band, unless you were told no, you had a yes.
Yeah.
So like, and there was very little talking. I'm talking more now than I ever talked to them. It's like, so it was just go for it. That was the feeling. Go for it. I think 81, there was probably, like I said, everybody was turbocharged. We were successful
and probably feeling some pressure too this is the follow-up to a huge record, a record that was just a smash. So now you've got to come back less than a year later, or about a year or so late. You've been on the road, supporting this gigantic record. You got to come back, and then you've got to, everybody's expecting you to make a better record,
I probably was too stupid to even feel that. I mean, honestly, I think probably Tom was much more astute on a business level, like what was happening. And we all kind of knew the third record was make or break. We're all going to be like back at the donut shop if this doesn't work, and so I figured naively that once you are successful, this is how stupid my mind was probably. If I could talk to that guy, well, this is just for the rest of your life now. You'll never. This is going to be. Oh, it's a one-way trajectory. Nobody bothered to explain the parabolic, like or whatever the nightmarish curve you will be on for the rest of your life. But at that point, I probably believed in miracles because I think we all did.
Well, you're in your 20s. You have this success. You're on the radio. Like, how could you not think that, right? I mean,
I don't even know if I was even smart enough to realize how lucky. I was just like, well, I've been selected. It's my turn. It isn't until years later you go like, whoa. So it was fun to be there, and that time, I think that you're hearing a lot of bravado. Like on the drums specifically, but everybody. I know Tom was feeling his oats, man. Everybody was bowed up,
Yeah.
we were all boy, we were all, and being from the South, it was like we proved it, in our mind. It's like, okay, we won a good fight,
Yeah.
so now we're gonna, but I don't know what I really don't know where I was coming from, but I just know it was like I felt like I could put a lot of drums on this thing, until somebody said no. And then when Duck backed me up, it was like, forget it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in each section too, I wanted to make a point of this. I think it goes without saying, but you're setting up all these parts of the song with what you're doing, and that's part of the job of a drummer. Besides, obviously, keeping great time, but it's like there's like each of these things we're talking about, the 16th note section in there where during the bridge, it leads to another section. The quarter note of the bell, leads to the verse. It's beautifully constructed is what I'm trying to say. It really is. It's
very kind. I think some of that too is, and a lot of drummers will probably understand this too, and I'm sure you will. Early in an arrangement, when the band doesn't know the song and you feel like you do, when the drummer actually feels like I actually own this thing, I know this song. Like that's the thing. I couldn't read music and I'm dyslexic. So if I heard anything, I would remember it. My memory was very quick. So if I heard the song, I almost knew it. And I felt that if I don't introduce these other sections, the other guys might fall asleep and not know. So in my mind, I was calling muster for the next section all the time, going, you might not remember, here it comes now. So it's so there was a lot of that going on too. And we would acknowledge each other physically a lot. Like Mike would, if I was, he could feel me going into something, he'd give you the look like, right, oh yeah, here we go, and Enmon always, his physical motion was on 2 and 4. He would never let, he was almost a visual metronome, to watch him when he played. It was really fun. Yeah. So the band was really, when a band is hitting on their cylinders, it's something to see, man. It's a hell of a thing to ride,
Absolutely. And you had a lot at stake because, as you pointed out, I mean, you couldn't go back and overdub your part. You kind of had, you wanted to get a great track. You wanted to get a great take, and you wanted the rest of the guys along with you, right? I mean, that's kind of like you're invested in it. And, guys, come on, I want to nail this on the first go or the second go. And
well, yeah, as opposed to I got a terrific second verse.
Yeah.
Just like nowadays, it's almost like you can build from there. It's like, oh, I got a great outro now. It's like, no, you got to spank this bitch from letter A. It's like from actually your count off has to actually sound convicted. Like you can't just count, go 1, 2, 3. It's like you got to really, you tell them what your energy level is by the way you speak into, and with how you hit your sticks together is already a call to glory. So I think there's a lot of that conviction. You have to feel like you're really going to make this work. This is going to be, we're going to sell this. And I think the whole band could feel that. You could feel everybody in the room, like you're ready to take one.
Yeah.
You never got to like, I don't know, man, oh yeah, like, so.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead, Stan.
You can only cut like 2 or 3 passes before you ran out of tape anyway.
Right.
At 30 ips, 5-minute song, that's all you got.
Yeah.
So 2 passes or 3 passes would always be take a break, reload, and go in and listen. So that was kind of fun too.
And this version that we all know and love is the second, basically really the first real take. The first time through is kind of a run through.
That's my memory. Is like we worked it up. We kind of heard in our heads. I had like I said, one quick discussion with Duck about a bass drum figure, which he basically said, and then off to the races we went. And then it was. I think we were done. I think the Cats might have patched a couple things together, but knowing Benmont, I'm sure his pass was already done. He's done.
Yeah, he's a beautiful player. And you mentioned the outro a second ago, just as an example. And there's again. So see if I have it in the right spot. All right. So here are the eighth notes in the hi-hat. I love that, man. Come on. I love that. You're playing like a little triplety thing in the ride. Now you're going to switch to the 16th note thing again on the hi-hat in a second. Huh? Getting cute with the bass drum too. Nice. Oh man. Beautiful.
Throwing the Whitman sampler at him.
That's
Maybe
beautiful.
something will stick, you know.
No, it's I think it's a masterpiece. I really do. And in terms of a beautifully constructed drum part, that supports all the parts of the song and is a big part of why that's such a great song. I mean, everybody's great on the track, obviously. Duck Dunn, yeah, and Stevie and Tom and Ben and Mike and everybody's,
Tom is was just a hell of a rhythm guitar player.
Yeah.
I mean, he really was. He had a beautiful, it wasn't constructed. It was almost at the guardrail the whole time. It was like almost off, but it was like, it was great. Like he almost would play sometimes without a pick. He would just hit that guitar, just talk to it a little bit. And it was pretty the way he could finesse. He played, he was they were all drummers. Everybody in the band was a pretty good, like metric. They had a nice feel.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lovely thing when you if you have a band and you're lucky enough to be in a band where they all feel music in the same place, or even for a moment. It doesn't last forever, it's like, but for that moment, man, even if it's just for a song, we all actually felt that. That's why the classic bands are so classic, because they actually, you hear the bond, like you hear that in that track, like you hear the hope in the intro, and then you hear the celebration in the outro, and there's a bond happening, we're all bonding with the song, we're bonding with each other. And it's like when you listen to a good record, it's like you almost you're auditing a frat party, Yeah. It's really a fun, it's like, wow, it's really a great thing to listen. If it's that kind of record. Now there's all kinds of records, but that kind of soul music, or, that's sort of what white guys playing soul music, that's as close as I can get.
Yeah.
With brothers playing my version of my soul,
Yeah. Well, I think what comes across to me as a drummer listening to that, and for me to almost kind of sort of sum it up, is it's the playing. I mean, any playing, you always sound confident in your playing to me. It's always, and you've told me that, at times you've played things and thought like, I don't know if this is going to work, but to me, you hear that and it's so like each part sounds so confident. And I was getting to that earlier when I was, asking like if you remember if you guys had worked on it a lot ahead of time, or did it just sort of come together? It sounds so fresh, like it hadn't been played 10,000 times. It really has that freshness. Yeah.
It really is. It's tripping all over each other in a really fortunate way. I mean, a hit record is sometimes it's luck. It's just luck. I mean, like Motown actually had a formula, and they enhanced their luck because they had amazing songwriters, amazing musicians, amazing singers, great producers, you know, and of sound. So they
Yeah.
focus their luck, you know, and I admire that. But sometimes, you know, it's like you got your lucky, right song, right time, right band, right studio, right engineer, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Iveen must have heard the song. He loved it so much he took it from us.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to get into all that, but that's,
Oh, it's true though. It's like, you know,
yeah,
you
yeah.
say this is so good, I gotta have it. So can't blame him.
I'm going to use this for this other person I'm producing.
Sure. Maybe I'll get it back to you guys later. You know?
Oh man. Well, and I got to say, when I listen to the isolated track for sure, I would never doubt you, but it sounds like it might be the tail end of the Peisty era for you, because that China
Kind of feels
really,
like it.
yeah, it sounds beautiful, but it's got that kind of nasty ka that the
Yeah.
Zildjians that you used always had a really nice China swishy sound, but that's got that Peisty. So, and they sound nice and bright and sparkly.
I wish I
So
still had it. I don't have those. That was that big cup, the big,
square belled, yeah,
yeah, the
yeah,
nasty looking thing. And I always put them the wrong way. So they just eat sticks,
yeah,
salad bowl or whatever,
yeah.
you know, and, but
I do the same thing. Our buddy Charlie always played
yeah,
his, yeah, that way, and as he used to say, I play it the proper way. So
ah,
yeah,
good. Okay,
yeah,
well, that's how I feel, but it was fun. But you had to kind of pull your punch a little on that because you could hear it in the room. Like if you actually spanked that cymbal, you know, you probably get guys in the headphones going, "Hey, really?" You know,
yeah, yeah. And the bell, this part that you play in the bell as you bring the song back in, the 4 count thing. That sounds like a 2002
hmm.
ride to me too. Just got that nice, clear, really kind of, great recording sound. So, but the drum sound, as always, was just it made it all. Like it was the complete package of what you played, the sound, the great Shelly Yakis, yourself playing the drums. Yeah,
No,
everything.
Shelly, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was something else, man. I mean,
yeah.
that was another one of those lucky, like, you know, you meet again. Can a phone call make a difference? Yes. You know, like it's like one guy can make a real difference in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Stan, as we start to wrap it up, I wanted to just ask you, first of all, I want to thank you again for doing this today. And I want to thank everybody for watching. And unlike other episodes that I do on Live from My Drum Room, this is going to go right up to YouTube, if not tonight, tomorrow. So you won't have to wait to see this. It's going to be up there.
Right.
Track Talk. And this is the inaugural episode. But I wanted to just ask you about any iconic tracks that you like, one or two, or as many as you want to mention, uh,
Of anybody's?
of anybody's. Yeah,
Oh man, there's so many. You know, when you're growing up, like the stuff, to me, nothing beats those tracks that just sent you, you know, when you were a little boy, you know, and like
absolutely.
sent you over the moon. And yeah, I'll hit a couple, you know, like let's see, you know, Paperback Writer, Ringo,
Yeah,
you know, just like
yeah.
sent me over the edge. She's a Rainbow, Charlie,
Oh man, yeah,
you know, just the orchestral nature of that way he stops and starts. And, you know, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, Gad. Later in life, I realized, well, that's another kind of drumming that I'll never figure out, but that's amazing, you know.
great choices. Yeah,
Yeah, Kenny Jones, Miss Judy's Farm, The Faces, stuff like that. Just man, wailing and sailing and wailing on that stuff. You know, oddly enough, a track that killed me when I was a little boy was Clive Bunker playing Teacher by Jeff.
oh yeah, yeah,
You know, like the way he changed from halftime, you know, to like double time, the way
yep,
he did that transition. I remember it made me crazy. It made me drive the car faster. Like it, you know, and you know, the great Dino Danelli, you know, Come On Up, you know, stuff like that, the Rascals, You know,
Yeah.
just those drum tracks. That doom, ba-da-dum, boom, ba-dum, doom, doom. It just, and then Jim Capaldi. You know, I don't know if you were like, you know, there was a Traffic had a song called Pearly Queen. You know, and it was like the same thing. He went from kind of a halftime to he tripped his way into a really fast, almost jazzy section. And, you know, all those guys, you know, they were like, they were just reaching into me, man. I mean, you know, I didn't even know how good they were. You know what I mean? It's like, you're
Yeah.
stupid because you think you can do that, you know, when you're in your bar band and you're going, yeah, I'm killing it, man. I'm Jim Capaldi here. You know, they put the tape recorder on and you go, no, I suck. You know, I actually really suck. So,
Absolutely. That's me anyway. I can
well,
relate to that.
I think any drummer worth his salt, I hope, has you know, the wherewithal to realize that, like, it's a really intriguing gig. It's it's not a set it and forget it. You know,
Yeah.
you don't just do it and think that it's great. It has moments where you have to feel that it's really great. You know, it has to really get deep down in you, and it's greasy, and those are and I'm sorry that the records aren't made like that anymore, but I'm not an old schnauzer and I'm not just lamenting. I'm just saying that that's a lost art in the world today. You know, the
Yeah.
sort of the wood crafting. It's a very limited market, and that's what old records were like whittling. You know, what
Yeah.
can we leave out? What can we leave out? You know, what do we not need to do? And you know, but yeah, thanks for acknowledging that track. That's Jesus, that 40, how many longer?
42 years.
Yeah, geez,
Yeah.
time flies when you're having fun, you know? It
Thanks.
does.
Well, thank you for, you know, indulging me and indulging all of us and remembering it so well. And because I know that's a tall order to have you, you know, dig deep, you know, back into something that happened 42 years ago and remember it so well as you have, and sharing all this information. It's great.
No,
Thank you.
it's a lot of fun. I really didn't, I have pretty good recall. I can't remember what I had for lunch, but I can remember in the 80 sessions.
I think that's what happens when we get to a certain age, right? I mean, I know I was singing like a TV commercial theme from the '60s to my wife the other day, and she's like, "What is that?" I said, "It was this commercial, like when I was about 5." And I can't tell you what I did yesterday, but these things, you know, are still in my brain. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it's
Man,
weird.
speaking of drum tracks, the very first track that just so you know, it was called No Matter What Shape Your Stomach's In, the great Hal Blaine. It was a
Yeah.
band called the T-Bones. If you have a chance, that was the first 45 I ever bought because I wanted to learn the drum break. And it was like, I was 11 and it was like, I didn't even know it was Hal Blaine. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it was on everything that was any good, you know? So,
right.
but if anybody cares, Google the T-Bones, no matter what shape your stomach's in. I think it was an Alka-Seltzer commercial too. But the swing on that track, man, like
I'll
how,
check it out.
oh
Yeah,
man, just back when, you know, swinging, everything's
yeah.
just, you know, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Oh, you definitely swing when you play, no doubt, no
I
doubt.
would love, the world should swing, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Stan, hang with me for 1 second. I'll end the broadcast and we'll say goodbye in the Zoom room. But I want to thank everybody for watching today. My first episode of Track Talk with I couldn't have had a better first guest, the great Stan Lynch. Big hand, everybody. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Yeah, hang on if you would 1 second, Stan, and I'll come right back to you.
You bet.